Hey, what's up, Josh?
What's up, Alex? How's it going out there?
Doing well, doing well. It's our first podcast of the year, so I'm glad to be getting back to it.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got a question for you to start.
Okay,
So,
shoot.
when is the last time you engaged in an online car forum?
An actual car forum?
Yeah,
2002, maybe?
2002. Yeah, it sounds about the same for me. Well, today that's what we're going to be talking about, a very ubiquitous part of online car culture that is car forums and talking about their past, present, and future. So this is the Money Shift podcast, Ep.7. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah. Today's pod will be pretty casual since it's the first one of the year. We usually stream these live to X and then post the video on YouTube and podcast platforms after that. If you haven't caught any of our previous episodes, we usually cover all aspects of vehicle culture from IRL car builds and events to sim racing and gaming and online and on-chain car culture. So really covering the gamut and bringing us car lovers every aspect of what makes us passionate about it. Typically we have a guest, but usually, or I should say today, it's just going to be you and me just rapping about good old car forums and what we have in store to hopefully revitalize that experience.
Totally. And just in the future here, we have some cool, exciting guests coming up too. So stay tuned. We have some members from the industry that have been doing this for a long time, giving us some insights on the JDM market as a whole. We have a couple of car collectors, people are doing builds, really engaging the community. So we're looking forward to those in the future. But like you said, it's the evolution of the car culture. And that's what we're trying to do is lead that front runner position of the next step of it. So,
Mhm.
you know, from vBulletins to where we're at now, let's get into it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think anybody who's been in and around cars, somebody who, whether you tinker on them or, you've got a deep passion about a specific car model, I think we've all used car forums.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say I probably got started on car forums in, I'm going to say like 98
Yeah.
when I first started, getting into driving, and at the time it was Volkswagen, and then I got into like some DSM forums when I had a DSM. And back in the day, they were the place to be for car people, just connecting or getting your questions answered, or
Showing
trying,
off.
yeah, showing off, trying to figure out, an issue with your car. And for better or worse, we can talk a little bit about the pros and cons of them. Um, but I think it's something that hasn't really that resource hasn't been available for some time. The car forum, as it was back in the day, has sort of fallen out of favor with car people, and other resources, I'll use that term lightly, have come into favor. But I don't think they're quite hitting the mark. So anyway, without kind of leading the witness here, um, wanted to, I guess, start by getting a little backstory on your experience with car forums once you got into it.
Yeah, and I think any one of us, over 35, 40 years old now, has that experience. We were, in the late 90s as new drivers. Um, Really, the only source before the internet that we had access to was like old Chilton's manuals. I don't know if anyone remembers those,
Mhm.
buying the old Honda book from the parts store. And, as we got more into the performance side of things, we were looking for voices and opinions on what to do, right? So, if you wanted to do, I guess not too many people back then were doing motor swaps yet, but what brakes go on my car, or what wheel fitment do I have, or what fueling do I? They're like all those little questions that you may have had. We didn't have the internet we have now, so it was very consolidated in there. And so, like for me, I had the '91 Civic hatchback, and I was looking for what part numbers, or what certain things to do. So it was really kind of the next evolution of the Chilton's manual, really. And that was kind of my first experience, was growing up early with the internet and learning it. The vBulletins were like the first communities that actually had some information for you. And, for give and take, the organization wasn't always the best, very long threads. And,
Mhm.
if anyone's been on a vBulletin long enough, we
I'll
probably
pull up
know.
the one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I peruse it every once in a while. Very rarely post, but just to kind of give an example of what Josh is talking about.
Yeah. And I think the number one answer on any of these forums is use the search function, a-hole.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of the problems that you always run into is like, you have a question you think is, maybe unique to you, or, maybe you didn't spend 30 minutes looking for the exact answer. So you ask it, and inevitably somebody comes out of the woodwork, or you get dogpiled with people being like, use the search button, and they'll like screenshot it with a red circle around it. And you're like, yeah, I understand, but you know, can somebody just effing help me here?
Yeah, so I think everyone, has started out with the V bulletins. What was your
Mhm.
kind of first experience? What you said it was the VWs that you were
Mhm.
first looking up?
Yeah, I first started racing at around 15 years old. And my first car was a 1990 Jetta GLI.
Yeah,
And so basically the Jetta version of a GTI. It was a pretty quick little car, especially on an autocross course, which is where I got started. And so I was in the VW forums. I don't even remember the name of it at this point. Um, and yeah, like you build relationships with people on there. There's always the off-topic channel where people are talking about all sorts of things. You're off topic in the Sylvia forum, you know, and at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s, like, man, it didn't get better than this. Like, you got all the resources that you needed, you know, connecting with cool people, sometimes some assholes, inevitable. But it was a valuable resource for car people.
yeah, and it's kind of a throwback. You remember looking at your V bulletin boards, listening to Winamp on your Napster downloads?
Exactly. Yeah.
Some
Yeah. Taking
throwback
a break to
action.
play Doom.
Yeah, buddy. And then, from the V bulletin boards, we've kind of seen a mass exodus as the internet has developed more into a social type platform. And, I don't know about you, but it seems to me like a lot of these resources then moved on to like Facebook groups
Mhm.
and subreddit pages. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know when the vBulletin style forums started to die. I know that I sort of stopped using that maybe around 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And then, in playing around, or I should say, going through it again, it just doesn't have the same level of engagement that it once had. Uh, and so, I've tried to find something similar on Facebook, and like as you mentioned, on Reddit, and nothing really hits the mark. Facebook's not set up for something like this, where you have,
Hmm.
you know, uh, let's say, nested conversations that can go really deep on a specific topic.
Right.
I'd say that Reddit is a little bit better in that regard, but
Hmm.
it's just not set up for this sort of to serve this sort of resource.
Yeah, I mean, you do get questions answered, especially with the rise in popularity with imports from Japan on stuff that we don't have here. People have a lot of questions, and early on, some of the more obscure stuff, like there's a car called the Nissan Cedric,
Mhm.
also called the Gloria, and there's one other name for it I forget right now, but it's the Y3132 platform, and when you get a car like that, you need new brakes. You have no idea what to put into it. Fortunately at Revhard, we've developed tools and resources for that. But, I myself, when I got my Cedric, the lugs were different size than any other car because technically it was built on like a Q45 platform. And
Mhm.
so you would think it'd be the same, but they were all different parts. And so you'd go into these Facebook groups and say, hey, what brakes fit on our cars? And you kind of met with that same resistance as you did on the V bulletin boards, like, hey, this has been asked 50 100 times. And so
Mhm.
even then it's hard to get that. So having something that's nested and cataloged and stored to research does make sense. And you're right, the Facebook groups don't really accommodate for that. It is a wealth of information. You still get to build that connectivity and those relationships. I've formed a lot of cool relationships with people just by owning the same car, connecting in these groups. So there is definitely value there. But as far as, finding those nuggets of information, especially as we've advanced, right? And so back when we started, Alex, there was maybe 3 kids that did a motor swap. I know when I did a B16 swap in my Civic, and I was one of the first people in the state to do it. And even though, an SR20 swapped from a KA in the Sylvia or the S chassis is pretty doable, there wasn't a lot of people doing it, right?
Mhm.
And so it was nice to have those resources to fall back on. And
Yeah.
I guess now another big contributor to that would be, I would say, YouTube videos.
It's a good point.
Right. I think a lot of people now are YouTube mechanics, as they say.
Mhm.
And, it's pretty interesting because even then, like when I got my R32, we had to pull the motor. So in an R32, the axles run through the oil pan. And so in order to drop an oil pan on R32, you have to take the whole subframe off. And it was interesting because there wasn't a lot of information on that. Every video that we saw was people pulling the motor out from the garage floor, right? And we had lifts and stuff like that. So some of our early mechanics had to basically learn and document that. So some of the YouTubes have been great. The Facebook groups have been great. Like you said, the Reddit forums. But, overall, I think that the car community is looking for that next advancement. And I'm really excited to start doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's something that we're trying to actively pursue at Driven Labo and with Revhard Motors, is to provide resources using the most up-to-date technology and platforms that solve real-world problems. And I think this is fairly low-hanging fruit. How do we put together a community-oriented hub where people can come together and not only connect, but share information, share resources,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. And so, I mean, I think with that, we can kind of get into what our plan is. Trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to chat about on that topic. No, I think we can kind of just jump right into it. So, being myself really heavy in the Web3 world, and also to a degree with gaming, there is already a platform out there that is been proven to be a really great community hub,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a set of features which I think are really underutilized, which fit perfectly for what we've been talking about, the whole forum side of car culture. So what we're doing is we are working on launching our own Discord server. It'll be the Driven Labo server, and it's, I'd say, like 95% done at the moment. We haven't started inviting anybody just yet, but we are very close, I would say, within the next couple of days, realistically. But it has all of the things that people expect in a Discord server, just being able to hop in and chat about whatever's on your mind and engage with people. Has the official links and stuff. Still don't have anything in there. And voice chats. And but what I want to bring our attention to is their forum feature. So here's like a test post right here that Josh did. And so one of the things that we can do is make a community where it's not just like I was showing Zilvia.net before. That's strictly for people that are into the Nissan platform. So S chassis, R chassis, and Zs for the most part. And then if you want to talk about Hondas or Toyotas, there's separate websites and separate vBulletin forums that are out there for each. And there's not a lot of cross pollination between people that are just generally into cars. So what we're building out on the Driven Labo Discord server is a really well thought out hub for anybody who's into cars, whether you are, building like me, I'm building my S chassis, or if you're into sim racing, or if you're into, the various experiences that are being built in the automotive Web3 world. Everybody can come together and talk about what drives them, no pun intended. Maybe it was intended, I don't know. And then you can select which car platform that you are into, and then get access to forums. So for example, we're looking at the S chassis one right here with one test post, and this one is K24 swap it in for an S13, a little how-to guide. But allows you to have a single source where you can talk about multiple different chassis. And also, one of the improvements, I'll say, from the old vBulletin style thing, and actually, let me pull that up real quick, is the organization just sucked. I mean, it was manageable back in the day when we were using them, but you've got tech talk, and then engine and chassis, and then like it's kind of difficult to find your way around. In this case, with Discord, we have them set up as tags, so it'll be a what would you call it, a stream of recent posts, and then you can tag them according to like the engine model or the specific area where you want some help, maybe the generation of the car, and you can stack terms. So say I want to either search for or create one about SR20 and an S14 and tuning. Now it'll pull up the most relevant results for that set of topics. And I think that this is going to be a really great way for people to get that experience we once had with the old vBulletin forums, but on a very well supported platform, and also introduce a variety of new features that never existed before.
Yeah, so really what it does, and what I'm excited about, is it kind of combines the best of all the worlds, right? So we have the depth of knowledge, the stored post, and really being able to provide the detailed information, but also using today's newer updated technology to increase search functionality and how it displays the user interface of it, all while still implementing the connectivity and the social element of what you'd find in a Facebook group. So, you'll be able to search posts very similar to what you did on the old vBulletin days, again, with a better user interface and access, but also have access to things like a voice chat, where you can get in groups and talk about these things. And then, everyone likes sim racing, so there's ways to go, venture outside of that. So it's really, like Alex said, a hub for car enthusiasts. And so we're really excited to bring that to you. And, we'll be inviting some power users on early on to help get some feedback and contribute. And then down the road, very near future, we see inviting different kinds of experts in certain categories to chime in their opinions as well. Again, to provide that most complete resource possible for the car community so that we can, help and grow together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we are going to start by supporting a few different chassis. And as we get more, requests to support others, we'll add those in. But out of the gates, we're going to support the Nissan S chassis. So like Silvia 240SX, the Nissan R chassis, like the Skyline, GTR, even the Stegia. Always forget how to say it. Stagia. All right.
Some people say Stagia, some people say Gia, but yeah. I call it a Stagia.
Yeah. And then the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo, the Toyota X chassis, so like the JZX series of cars, and Toyota Supra. I think these really represent sort of the core of JDM car culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then for anything else, so say you come in and you've got a Miata or an Ep.7, you can go in and use the general JDM chat here, which is still being set up, and ask your questions. And as we see more and more demand for different cars, we'll add those in.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the other things I want to talk about is some of the cool features that we can offer through this that were never available on vBulletin and aren't really suited for Facebook or Reddit. So, for example, given that this is tied to the Driven Vehicles project or Driven Culture and wait, getting them all of them confused, Driven Labo, and then under that we have Driven Vehicles and Driven Culture, and of course the based Buster coin. All of that is going to be supported in there as well. So, for example, we have a holder verification section where if you do hold Buster, you can verify your holdings, and then it'll grant you roles and special permissions based off of the balance that you hold. So incentivizes you to hold more tokens over time to unlock additional features. The other thing is the sim racing side of things. So considering Discord was really originally set up for gamers,
Mm-hmm.
it's really a great place to be able to support live streaming of sim races. And so we plan on doing things like having like sim competitions throughout the platform, and maybe we'll do like a community championship on Assetto Corsa, and then we'll live stream those races and reward the users and the winners with Buster token directly through the platform. So I think that's going to be a really good draw. The other thing is on that note, we've been talking with some other projects like in the automotive Web3 space. For example, Racino, they are a Formula One inspired race management video game. And so we might have game nights where, let's say, every Friday night we get together and the team goes in and does a few races in Racino. We place our bets, we have some fun, have a drink or two, and get some good banter going. I could see that being a lot of fun. And we can do that with a number of different video games. So really making it far more engaging and interactive than any of the other platforms offer.
Yeah, and I'd like to reiterate, we've been talking a lot about the Buster token and people relating it to cryptocurrency per se and what they see in the markets. But really, what we're trying to do is add utility and value to the platform, right? So, if you're out playing Gran Turismo back in the day and you're putting hours and hours and hours into a car, or if you were one of the key contributors on one of these vBulletin sites, putting hours and hours and hours, other than the satisfaction of people utilizing that work or driving the car that you earned, there really was no tangible value to it. And so using the platform in more of a gamification style, the Buster token really serves as a governance and a reward mechanism. So, as people contribute more and more to the forums and provide more and more valuable information, there'll be incentives and rewards. When we do the game nights and have, different races, there'll be incentives for the rewards. And so in addition to contributing and just providing a sweet resource for all of the enthusiasts to utilize, the more you contribute and engage, the more tangible, actual, real value you would be able to obtain as well. So, that's kind of the big crux of that. And Alex, if there's anything you want to add to that, but, our goal is to bring the car world on chain, and the technologies that are coming up, and I guess the vBulletin to the Discord is an example of it. But now with the, base network and the things that we're able to accomplish with certain apps, we're able to add real value to the people who work and live and engage in these platforms as well. So I think that's really cool and exciting for the first time.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you touched on what I think is going to be an important component of the community, which is rewards and gamification. And that's something that I'm currently building out, which is a model where by being an active participant in the community, you're going to earn uh, points towards Buster tokens that you can then redeem and stack those for additional uh, perks down the road. And really, as Josh mentioned, our token's not just supposed to be another
Speculative
flash,
trade.
yeah, flash in the pan speculative bubble. There's a lot of value that holding the token will provide to our users, such as the more you hold, the earlier you're going to be able to get access to the fractional shares of investment vehicles that we'll be offering through the Driven Vehicles platform. And so some examples might be, as Josh said, on game nights, we'll be giving out tokens to participants. Certain channels will generate points for users. So if let's say you post a thread,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get rewarded for posting a thread because that adds value to the community. Or if you are a let's say I'll call it a chassis expert, like me personally, I could probably go in and answer a lot of the S chassis related questions. I would maybe get a specific role to show that I have a high level of knowledge in that, and could earn extra points for solving people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so gamification, it's not just a gimmick. I think it's really going to add a really useful and fun aspect to how people engage in these communities moving forward.
Yeah, not only that, but like the contribution of it, right? Through things like, and I guess for lack of a better term, voting rights. So like, as we acquire what we call our S, so I don't want to say S chassis, but it's not S. What is it
The
called, Alex?
We have the R spec and the Type S cars in the
So the
collection.
Type S cars will be cars, for example, that we will acquire and modify for maximum return and enjoyment. And so, if you were to buy an S15 Sylvia, for example, and do a nice body kit, pick some wheels, do some engine tuning, get the paint rehabbed, and really make it nice, the average person is spending 10, 30, $40,000 doing that in some cases. And so this would be a great way to like engage in that process, and through voter rights of having Buster tokens and points and stuff like that, we'll all be able to contribute and have a say in that, so we can all build fun stuff together and share in the rewards together. And that's kind of the crux of it, right? And so back to like what we were saying before, I've met a lot of cool people and we've done some cool experiences just based on owning the same car. And so our goal is to give everyone that platform to really expand upon that, and not only expand upon it, but provide value for the value contributed. And so whether we're doing certain types of events that you can have a say on, some of our R grade spec cars, maybe it's exclusive rights to drive them during our track days, or even as simple as things like, we're going to have different merch, things all the way from a hoodie to a nice watch, and you'll be able to redeem it on cool stuff. And so our goal is just to support the car community. And we have some cool features that we're going to be building into it too. And one of them is, supporting car clubs themselves, or even just groups of local cars, maybe a Cars and Coffee. Maybe you want to organize an event for your community, and then by engaging that, we'll help provide the tools and the resources. We're talking about partnerships with people who do live events and sell tickets, and onboarding their communities to help provide a video streaming platform and increase their engagement. So it's really an open-ended, all-in-one, all-inclusive tool that's going to allow everyone to contribute and get rewarded for contributing. And so we're really excited to bring that. And then, Alex, am I allowed to let some alpha out, as they say in the crypto space, or some insider knowledge in the
Yeah.
auto space about
Yeah.
do you know what I'm going to say?
Put a bookmark in that, because there's a couple of things that I want to touch on that you just talked about,
Okay.
and we'll come back to it.
All right. I'm getting excited.
All good. So yeah, Josh was talking about like the R-spec cars, which are the long-term custodied, rarer vehicles that will be offering fractional ownership of. And so, for example, as we've mentioned many times before, the first car we're going to be offering is Paul Walker's 99 Ferrari 360 Modena.
Oh,
And
damn.
we already have a channel set up for this, which is going to be exclusively for our holders of the Ferrari shares. And then, by connecting to their account to it, and proving that they hold a share, they can go in and engage with other owners, other co-owners of that car, and work together to come up with either novel ways to monetize the vehicle, which again results in rewards and returns for the shareholders, or maybe even have a chat about like which wheels do we put on the car. That's up to the community of co-owners, and we can have some really fun, let's say, discussions and debates about what the fate of that car is, and all of that can be hosted directly through our upcoming Discord server. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is that you mentioned supporting other communities and even local car clubs, and that's something that we plan on offering, I'd say, a pretty robust solution for that. So, like a good example is my daughter has a car club. I've got a sticker here on my water bottle here. It's called Misfortune, and there's lots of little car clubs all over the country. If we give them a specific channel for to manage their community within the Driven Labo server, not only does that provide value for them to be able to organize their events and do everything that they're trying to do on Instagram or whatever, which again is not a great method for organizing a club. They can have a space on here, but they'll also have access to all the other cool resources that we offer. So,
Like here in Colorado, we have like the Colorado Skyline Owners Club, and we have like a right-hand drive owners club. And so it's like a natural progression from some of these Facebook groups. So not only just like actual car clubs like your daughter's, but these Facebook groups can be brought to life and organized. So like I know the Colorado Skyline Owners Group, they do a meet probably 2 or 3 times a year. And one of the big questions that always comes up is, what day do we do it? And then we're trying to figure out what day. So like through the Discord server, we can host, simple polling and use tools that are available through these platforms to really add feature-rich situations to these groups. And we're really excited about that.
Yeah. So before you launch into your alpha, I just want to kind of throw it out there to anybody who's listening. If you have the similar experience with car forums yourself, and this sounds interesting to you, definitely follow us and join as soon as it launches. And we want to hear your feedback, because when we get this thing launched, it's not set in stone. We're going to work with the community to really polish it to become something that is going to be extremely valuable to anybody who's into the automotive lifestyle.
Yes, 100%. Because at the end of the day, this is all for the community, right? And so whatever people think works best, or feedback they have, we cherish that. So any video comments in here, or you want to reach out, leave us your email or get access first, sign up early. And we'd love to hear your feedback and have you as a key contributor.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, all about the community.
100%.
All right. So what was the alpha you're going to drop?
Well, we've evolved a lot in technology, and it's kind of both as exciting as it is scary, right? And what I'm going to mention is a little bit of AI juice sprinkled in here, and something that Alex and I have been working on. And AI, otherwise, is called a large language model, which means that you feed a lot of data in and you teach it what it is and what it does. And so one of the features we're going to be rolling out, once the framework's set up, is like an AI chatbot that's going to help you solve all of your vehicle problems. So you want to know what spark plugs and coil packs go in your R32, you can ask it and it'll break it out and tell you and provide you links on where to get it. If you want to know what wiring harness to use or what kit is best to put a K series inside your S chassis, it'll be as simple as a question and an answer. I'm sure most of you have now had some exposure to like a ChatGPT or X's Grok or something similar to that. And so what we're really excited about is taking the evolution of those vBulletin boards and not only providing a nice, easy, navigable repository for information, but then to make that information searchable as simple as a human interaction conversation. Ask my question, get my results. It's not going to be 100% perfect at first, but it's going to be a lot better than going through old vBulletin boards.
Yeah.
And so
or even better than, sorry to interrupt, or even better than asking ChatGPT, because it's really good with general knowledge.
Correct.
And, you can get a lot of your questions answered, but, if we are training our LLMs for this resource on, let's say answers from the community in the forums and from the factory service manuals and from, other resources that we can aggregate into the training data for them, the level of accuracy is going to be extremely high. And so, I think that's something that will really be a game changer for, people like me. I'm a amateur home mechanic, and
Right.
I definitely don't know everything there is to know about S chassis.
Yeah.
And
What's the torque specs on the manifold, Alex?
I should know this, but I don't.
Exactly. Still, so like detail information like torque specs on,
Mhm.
certain parts, gasket part numbers. When you take something off, a lot of people don't think there's going to be a gasket you have to replace,
Yeah.
or what fluids go into this. Like
Yeah.
if you have a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution and you have the AYC, what's the fluid that you replace it with? What's the process and procedure you replace that with? And all the way down to little things that are subjective in nature. For example, fitment of wheels, right? What fitment have you guys seen work best on XYZ platform when it comes down to like, VIPs or whatever?
Mhm. Yep. Oh, business never stops.
Muted. We can call back.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and like to your first example, even like with torque specs, it might give you Newton meters, and you're like, well, shit, my torque wrench only has inch pounds and foot pounds. And you're
Right.
like, all right, convert that to foot pounds for me. It'll do that. You got people trying to buy cars.
Yeah. Business never stops. Sorry about that.
All good. Yeah, so that's something that we plan on integrating into the Discord server. So you could ask, like maybe tag the bot in your forum post, and it'll reply back with an answer, and then the community can chime in with their experience on top of that. We also plan on baking that into the web and mobile app some point down the road. And really a lot of the data that we're going to be feeding into it is going to come from the community and come from the experts that have been building these cars for decades, and of course they'll be rewarded for their contributions. So I think it just really creates a really sweet ecosystem for people to use all the latest technology to still indulge in their passion, and yeah.
Yeah. And earn value for it too. Right. If I had to calculate all the time that I've spent in Facebook groups or on these forums and put $1 per hour to it, You know, a lot of people have some serious contributions into these things.
Mhm.
And so to get some actual real world value from that is also really exciting. And to provide these platforms for local communities is really exciting too, you know, because everyone looks for more feature rich situations. Facebook's cool and all, but if you had a team calendar and an event schedule, then, you know, even down to in the future, maybe selling tickets or monetizing those platforms, it
Mhm.
really opens up a lot of doors to new cool things. So, you know, obviously the excitement of categorizing the information and making it easily accessible is cool. And then branching into the other on-chain communities. So as you're there, you can kind of explore what else we're working on. Because again, our whole mission is to bring the car community on-chain, as they say. And for a lot of people, that means a lot of different things. But interacting in the Discord server and getting a feel for all the things that we do is really going to help people understand what we're doing. So, you know, the podcasts that we do, the interviews that we do, you know, we put out content and really try to feed the community with new information, in addition to acquiring rare and collectible vehicles that we can all monetize and collect together and buy tokens of. You know, in the future, real world assets, they call it, or things that are tangible assigned a token to, is going to be pretty much everything. And so learning about that and getting involved now is going to be advantageous to a lot of people. You know, you start to
Mhm.
see it with different collectibles like Banksy paintings and even Pokemon cards, right? And
Mhm.
so, you know, instead of owning this, you could own a car that appreciates. And then, you know, with these Buster tokens and having voting rights, like Alex was saying, through that group chat, we can all discuss how we want to increase the car's value or monetize it. Or if someone in the group's really watching the markets very closely and they see that there's a peak in the market price and suggest, hey guys, maybe we put this at Barrett Jackson or down in Pebble Beach. This is the time to go, and we can all vote on it. Or if we just get all together and say, hey, we have 100 miles left, 200 miles left allocated on the vehicle for this year. Let's go out to a track day and get some miles on it. And
Mhm.
so the engagement is really what's exciting also, and using the token and the infrastructure that's now available to us to add that power to the community. And that's really what we're aiming to do, add power to the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
More power.
Yeah, so I feel like we really touched on all of the topics here. I'm excited to get this out. I'm really excited to start bringing in the traditional car community and working with them to make this a resource that is pretty much like the most valuable place that they can spend their time online. So,
Totally. Alex, one quick question. What's your favorite part about launching this? What do you think is going to have the most impact? What are you excited about?
I mean, the the thing I'm most excited about really is just blending my passions. I love JDM vehicles. I love cars in general, and I love the uh, the technology and community building aspect of Web3.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to be, at the forefront of bringing those two together. And I mean, we're constantly experimenting with things. Some things will work, some things won't, but it's a lot of fun to see where that crossover is and works.
Mm-hmm.
But to be a little less vague, um, I think the thing I'm really looking forward to the most is when this goes from where it's currently at as like a concept on the precipice of really um, uh, having the uh, all the pieces in place, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting the first car tokenized, maybe adding more to the collection, getting it from this stage to the point down the road where we have a I call it the driven HQ, have our physical facility that is a museum that features all of the cars that we've collected as a community over the years. And it becomes a community hub and even a tourist destination for people that, share our passion to come and hang out and, view the collection, or if you're a shareholder of that car, to be able to go and take that car for a spin. Like the all the tech is fun, but I'm really here for the community and the interactions
Mm-hmm.
and building connections and making friends. And that's where I see this really going down the road is, uh, having those IRL experiences that are enhanced by the technology that we're geeking out on day in and day out.
Yeah, and for us car nerds, IRL just means in real life. I'm sure you guys know that, but
Yeah.
just to expand.
Mhm.
And Alex, what I'm most excited about is, and I don't know if this is the best analogy, but we're kind of opening Pandora's box. And I think that what I'm excited about is probably our best feature or the coolest part about this isn't even going to be what you and I think about. It's going to be some contribution through a community member that really opens some of these doors. And I think that's what's most exciting to me is just, like you said, first and foremost, integrating the community, but really giving the tools to the community for what they want. And I think that's what excites me most. And I'm really looking forward to the release of the app that we have coming out soon.
Mhm.
That's going to provide a big key to this that will make a lot of sense to a lot of people. So if you want to be an early contributor to the Discord space, or you're just curious what we're doing, shoot us a message, hit us up. We'd like to have you involved in this process. We're still really early on in this, and there's a lot of room to grow. And that's what I think excites me most, Alex, is I think some of our best contributions are going to come from outside of our brains and from our community.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's the beauty of Web3 is it creates a decentralized organization that everybody has some skin in the game and everybody is motivated. Not everybody, but the people that self-identify, let's say, can make serious contributions to the organization and see the benefits of it. It's not a
Totally.
one-way street; it's a two-way street.
Yes, 100%.
Mhm.
And I think, thank you for everyone who has joined us here today. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, shoot us some comments and feedback. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to get involved. And I think that's what I'm excited about.
Nice. All right. Well, let's tell people where they can find us. Of course, we've got drivenlabo.xyz is our main page that links out to all of our other aspects of the ecosystem. So we've got Driven Vehicles, which is going to be the app for tokenization of the investment vehicles. We've got Driven Culture, which is currently a newsletter, but is soon going to be expanding to a full-blown media publication, let's call it.
Yes.
And of course, Revhard Motors, and Josh is our vehicle operations specialist. So if you're ever in the market for a JDM vehicle or something that's hard to find, he can find it for you and deliver it to your door.
Yes.
And yeah, find us on X. Got that across the bottom. That's going to be Driven Labo. Follow me on X at Rext_racer. Josh is Max Gains
Driven.
Yeah, Max_Gains_driven. And then yeah, check out the Basebuster coin. You can check that out on X at Basebuster coin. And that's really the key to unlocking all of the best features within our ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah, did I miss anything? Of course, we're on all of the other social platforms too. So
Now, I just want to point out that vehicles is what, VHCLS?
Correct. Yeah.
And it's all accessible from Driven Labo, just like you see on the upper right corner there. Drivenlabo.xyz. It can lead you to everything. There's information about our Buster token, about the vehicles platform. It's really the hub for everything. And then, shortly stay tuned and, hop on our mail list, be one of the first people to see the app when it releases. So it's going to be, basically a crypto wallet and a media platform and way to interact with the shares of your car. It's going to be, all-inclusive hub center for our Web3 side. It's just this Discord is going to be for the community. So stay tuned for all of that. Like I said, in the next couple episodes, we're going to have some special guests talking about the history of this industry, the state of the industry, and a very unique perspective on JDM cars as a whole. We have some cool car collectors that have cool cars that are coming up. If you have a cool car and a unique build and you want to be featured on the podcast, shoot us a comment, shoot us a reply. We'd love to feature you. Because again, we're all about the community, and that's why we do this. That's what fuels Alex and I to keep going. That's what's fueled Revhard this long. And we do it all for you guys. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
And if I can point one more thing out in the Discord server, since you just reminded me, we do have a little section here that's called Cars and Coffee. It's set up as a forum. So if you want to share your car, share your build, you just create a new post here and explain the history of you and your car. And if it's something that we find that's really outstanding, we'll feature it in the newsletter. We may contact you to do an article or even a video about it, and then of course have you on the podcast to talk about your build as well. So
yes, sir.
Had to point that out.
Nice.
All right, man. Well, it was fun. I'm glad that we're getting back into the swing of the podcast for 2025, and there'll be plenty more to come. So make sure to follow us as all the newest stuff drops.
Yes, like, comment, subscribe, shoot us a message. We'll be out here. We'll see you in the next one.
All right, man. Cool. Well, talk to you later, bud.
Later.
All right. Cheers. Creek.